Afternoon. Where are we off to today?
We're going to go for a surf and then have some Kava and hang out with Trav. I'm really excited.
Nice.
What do you reckon? A little bit overcast, mate.
We're not shooting in the rain, mate.
Big snappy one and shells. Kick back here,
And you got the trees and the waves in the background. Yeah, cool.
You got any wax?
Nah. Raw dog in it. You got any? I just wanted to honour my wetsuit sponsor, Niche, in Australia.
They're sponsoring like Kava drinkers.
Yeah.
Branching out.
We're going to go out. We're going to film a surf. We're going to film it coming in on one. Flying.
Hey folks, another round of chat over a few shells. I've got Travis McLeod with me today, my brother.
Howdy.
Avid surfer, adventurer.
I don't know about adventurer, but avid surfer.
Yeah, okay. Well look, we just had a quick hit out there and just going to have a chat with Trav over a few shells as per normal, and that always starts with a few shells. What do you reckon?
Let's rip in. You guys edit all this, saying? Yeah.
Straight to camera. Cheers.
Cheers. Woo. Boy.
Spot.
What's that? Fiji Honey?
No, what's it then? Vanuatu, I think.
Vanuatu, Kava.
natural.
Authentic.
Yeah.
The original.
Yeah, the best.
Nice.
So mate, before we get into the Kava stuff, surfing. How long has it been part of your life?
Sheesh. So I'm going to have to say 40 years now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
How old were you when you started?
I think I was 11 years old when I started. I think we got a couple of little boogie boards for Christmas. I think it was you and I that got those. And then on the summer holidays of that Christmas, I ended up trading that boogie board for a little foamy with another guy at the beach whose parents had bought him a foamy, and he wasn't really enjoying it. He was getting rash, he wasn't able to stand up, so he took the boogie board, I took the foamy, and luckily stood up on my first wave because I had a little bit of wave sense. And there's a plane going over. But yeah, that was an addiction from there. It's pretty much been everything I've done in my life has always followed surfing, so it's a funny one, you know, you don't think it's that much of an addiction, but when you look back over your life, everywhere I've been, everything I did from that age was based around surfing. Everywhere I've moved to, even though I lived in Perth for 28 years, that wasn't really a wise move, but luckily we had Lancelot up north, we had Margaret River and Yallingup down south, so lots of summer holidays away. And then obviously, I think 28, sold the surf shop and made the bold move over to this lovely little part of the world, and yeah, surfing's been sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly part of my life, but more so lately, really getting back into it. So, yeah, awesome. Probably the last 5 years I've gotten out of the corporate world. I've had time to get into the surfing again and just trying to really, really enjoy it. And, so now, you know, if I can surf daily, like yourself, I'm doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, we're pretty fortunate to live beside this part of the world, eh? And look, Perth was part of our upbringing, and there's, there were waves there, but they weren't the greatest waves.
No.
But hey,
but it left you wanting more. That was the beauty of it. So whereas I found when I moved over here to the Gold Coast, I was 28 years old. A lot of guys had probably surfed since they were 13, and by then, they'd probably hit the party scene a bit. They were working. There'd be perfect waves out here, and guys would surf, once or twice a year. Whereas, being a Perth guy, as soon as I got over here, like days like this, would be,
that's considered
a rare treat.
Perth,
That'd be a great day, and where, it's just a little small hit out for us. But yeah, fantastic.
I remember getting calls from you when I was living in Vanuatu relocated here, and you're saying, and I have this mental image of the points being really crowded, and they're really crowded, right?
Yeah.
But there are windows there when there's on a weekday when there's very few people.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember you calling me and telling me about these. Oh, it's got like 4 to 6 foot, and there's only like 20 guys on it. I'm like,
I mean, it's been, I think it's 24 years I've been here now. But yeah, so many good sessions. You know, sometimes I get frustrated during spells like we've had in the last 6 months where, you know, it hasn't been pumping for long periods of time. But then I look back on all the amazing surfs I've had here, and it has been a pretty good move. So
yeah, it's
kept me involved. I've always lived near the water. You know, like yourself, luckily I'm only about 400 metres from the sand, so you know, there's no excuse. You've got to be surfing every day.
I've got to ask you one more thing about the formative years. Do you remember your first board?
I do.
Fiberglass board?
Yeah, I do. I remember it being a Cordingly single fin. It was shaped by Greg Lorenzen. Rest in peace, Greg. He was an absolute master shaper from Tasmania that moved to WA from memory. $40 out of the trading post. My dad said he'd go halves in it. So I'd put in 20, he'd put in 20. We drove out to Kewdale, which is on the other side of Perth, well away from the coast. And this interesting looking guy took us out to the shed and showed us this green old single fin with a swallowtail that had been patched up with plaster of Paris.
I remember it now.
It didn't even have a leg rope plug. It had a drilled hole through the fin. And I said to Dad, as soon as we get home, I'm waxing this up, putting a leg rope through the fin, and we went down a cove, went out and caught my first wave on a fiberglass board. And the rest is history.
I can see that board right now.
It's a beauty. I wish I
I'm
still
glad I
had
asked
it.
that question because I
wish I still had it.
About it. Yeah, classic. So, I guess, you know, just through our relationship, you came to Vanuatu a few times. Do you remember your first Kava experience?
Off the top of my head, I can't. Just trying to think where it would have been. I'm sure it would have been down at Pango.
Yeah, right.
Whether it was after a surf or not, it was probably after a surf, but I do have good memories of lots of really good Kava sessions in the Nuckamal straight in from Pango. From Fatfar, I think the wavies, is that what you call it?
Yeah, fatties, yeah.
Fatties, and I think one of the best memories I have of Vanuatu surfing was an afternoon where it was John Stevens, yourself and myself, and maybe that was it. There might have been one other guy out there. And it wasn't crate breakers by any standard, but it was pumping, and it was just the three of us, and we all got great waves.
Awesome.
You and I came in, went straight over to what was the name of the Nuckamal?
That was Annie's. Across the road.
Annie's.
Yeah.
A couple of the guys have been surfing up the point. Some have been surfing out the front. Everyone came together, and we all had a big session at that Nuckamal afterwards, and that was the essence of surfing in Vanuatu and having a Kava after a surf.
It's pretty good.
Really good fun. Yeah, I still remember that day.
I remember I wrote about this the other day, and like you live there and you go surfing, you occasionally might have a shell afterwards, right? That's just an added bonus. But I remember surfing that wave on a low pressure that was sitting just south of Fade, and it was myself, Kai Healy, and a couple of Roms, probably John Stevens again.
Yeah.
Ben wasn't out, which was interesting. But he was probably working, but it was just cooking, as good as it gets, 3 to 4 foot. And there was this pop-up, so there was Annie's at the front, the start of Pango,
right?
And there was this little pop-up that had popped up at the Kava bar at the beach.
Yeah.
So I'm out there with Kai, I got some of the most ridiculously good waves of my life.
Yeah.
Not that I surfed them well, but came in, had a shell, and I'm having a second shell, and I'm just watching Kai Healy take it to pieces. I got to go that again, right? So went out, buzzed on Kava, had another hour, and it was just phenomenal.
Unreal.
Right? And at this stage the light's starting to come down, came in, had another shell. Kai, because he's that young grommet enthusiasm, he's still out there ripping.
Yeah.
Another shell, I've got to go one more. Went out,
Unreal.
so 3 surfs, came in and had one more shell on the last one. So 3 surfs, 3 Kava sessions.
Amazing.
One of the best days of my life.
Yeah, that's great. I'm just going to take this towel off. It's probably done its job.
Sweet.
That feels better.
I guess let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit. You've been off the booze for how long now?
Let's think, probably 10 months actually. Let's say 10 months. Yeah.
Right. And was there like a pivotal thing, or was it something that was it a snap decision, or was it something that was coming for a while?
It's something I've been thinking about for a while. I've just turned 50, coming up and turning 51. To be honest with you, I had a pretty unhealthy relationship with alcohol in the sense that I would probably, work hard, still do what I do, so go to the boxing gym, whatever, but I'd always be having a beer or 4 or 5 or whatever from probably 4 o'clock onwards, and that'd be weekdays, weekends, you'd always have a lunch out, So I just found it was dominating my weeks. It was, and I was getting to the point where it was, a bit of a struggle getting out of bed in the morning and just functioning, busy with work, not being present with the activities I was doing. Like, when you're surfing and you've had beers the night before, you're going to be out there and you're going to be getting a few waves, but you're not doing it to its full capacity. You're not really enjoying it. You're sort of fighting it a little bit. And you're going to get a nice wave now and again. But I found it was really, really starting to make those, beautiful pursuits that I do, and a bit of a struggle. So yeah, it was.
How did that factor in? Because as well as surfing, you're a pretty avid boxing fan / you box and train every
pretty
day,
much 4 or 5 days a week.
So that's when you're on the piss.
It's hard. You can't do it well. It's like you can't do it. Look, to be honest with you, it's enjoyable in the evenings when you're sitting around having that social drink with your family or your friends or whatever. But all of your activities the next day are going to be a struggle. Your work activities, your physical activities. Your surfing, your boxing. That's for me. Whether you're a footy player or a tennis player. It's always tough, we're over 50 now, our bodies don't react like they used to.
That's the thing, like at our age, we've got to be doing something, right?
You have to,
You have to be doing something. And
these are the best years.
If you're hitting the piss and also forcing yourself to do stuff, man, it's
dangerous.
Hard, it can be dangerous for sure, particularly on sparring Fridays, right?
Well, there's that risk of having a heart attack while you're doing what you love. And you always out of breath, always playing catch up. So yeah, it was time to been a pretty long run with alcohol in my life, and then I just decided, I think I did the dry January last year, and then that was just to see if I could do it, and then I think by April I was done with it. It's been a good change. I'm noticing a lot of people my age are starting to do it. I just had a call from a good friend in WA today who came over and visited me 2 months ago, and he's let's say 2 months and a week ago, and he's jumped on the same program and 9 weeks in, and he just came second in a state surf comp in King of the Point in Perth. That's on the weekend.
Yeah, cool, what a legend.
Not mentioning any names.
Yeah. Good on him.
And he said he wouldn't have been able to do it if he was, if he hadn't have stopped drinking. So interesting. So you hear all these positive stories, and you get sort of immersed in positivity, and your life gets better. Obviously, you're active during the day. You're able to get out of bed and do your boxing in the morning. Like this morning, I went to the gym. I got home. I came straight down for a surf for an hour. Then I took the dog to the dog park. Then I'm home working, and that's all before 8 o'clock. If I had 6 beers and a couple of glasses of red the night before, there is no chance in hell I would have done that.
And if you do, it's a struggle, right?
It would have been horrible.
It's just a pain in the arse. I can clearly remember when it wasn't I'm going to stop.
Yep.
There was a situation, the referendum had gone off, and on the Saturday night, and there was the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight. I was that angry. I thought, if I go down and have a few beers and someone shoots their mouth off, I'm going to probably do something stupid. So I took some instant with me, and what's his name that runs the fish backbone?
Gav.
Gav.
Yeah.
I said to Gav, mate, I can't drink. I'm not going to be drinking. Do you mind if I just have some instant Kava? And he said, no,
That's right. I remember it. Yeah.
And sat down. We had a hoot. It was a great fight. Well, if you're on Terence Crawford, it was good.
Yeah. Not for Errol Spence Jr.
But that was, for me, that was a
turning point.
Like for sure. Like I had such a good time, and in a situation where I'd normally be sinking tins and carrying on, I just thought, I'm going to continue on with that. And the next day, and didn't drink, and then just sort of, before I knew it, I don't know, it's been 18 months or something. I mean,
well done, mate.
It's more just it's not easy, but it's also not necessarily hard. Now, I'm going to put this in the basket of people that have serious alcohol issues. That's a challenge, right? But for, I guess, your casual drinkers, casual to somewhat hardcore drinkers, there is a way out of it.
For sure. Absolutely.
Have you found Kava fit into your life since you quit the booze?
Yeah, well, it's look at us now. We've just gotten out of the surf. Maybe a year ago we would have had some cold beers in an esky in the car, and we would have had a couple of coldies. So it's great. I quite often like to, sort of say 4 or 5 o'clock, sit down and have a shell at the end of the day. Whether I do that daily, I don't need to do it daily, but particularly if I'm in a social situation, I find, obviously catching up with yourself and, catching up with other friends, even if they're having a beer, I'll just bring my shake of pre-mixed Fiji Harmony or Vanuatu Natural, definitely not Waka Premium. To a social setting, and I'll just have a few Kavas and sit around. Same old, same thing, different product, and feeling good. I can drive away. Yeah,
It's that thing where
there we go.
I just missed it. Oh, great. Anyway, yeah, it's weird, eh? Like people get a little bit frightened and think, oh, you know, like what's it going to be like? I'm going to, you know, go and catch up with some mates. I don't want to take Kava with me.
Spread the word.
It's a fascinator for one.
It is.
People are like,
it's a great conversation starter. Yeah.
And two, you get that nice buzz and social buzz out of it, and you drive up.
Exactly. Well, you should have a few shells here and drive home and be productive when we get home.
Yeah.
I found, you know, if I had 3 or 4 beers, the second I get home I want to have another. Then I might want to have a glass of red or 3 with dinner. But that's where your problem starts, you know. So yeah, it's perfect for me.
How are you finding it, like in your 50s now, like being as active as you are, like with the aches and strains and everything that comes with being over?
Well, I work really hard on that. That's just me. So I do a lot of cardio training, a lot of core strength training. So yeah, the back pain's not existent anymore. I used to have pretty bad. I do have a ruptured ACL. When I'm drinking alcohol, those, you know, particularly the knees get inflamed. You know, the elbows get inflamed. Shoulders are always playing up. You know, once you're 6 months into being alcohol free and you're keeping active and you're eating well, you do notice those pains all of a sudden start disappearing.
I know it was
the old my back's too sore to do anything. You know, and as we always say, it's not your back, it's your front. You know.
Yeah.
So if you're keeping it in tune, it's the aches and pains go away. Sure, I still get the odd little tweak. You know, I had a shoulder tweak the other week, but it might have lasted. You know, I've got a bit of bursitis in the shoulder. It might have lasted 2 days and it was gone. So
it was a bit of a leading question. Sorry, because I know that, like before when I was drinking Kava, I was constantly sore.
Constantly sore,
right? Like constantly. Like you go surfing, you know, you go boxing, whatever. You come back,
and we blame it on old age. On old age, but it is it's alcohol.
It was the booze, right? Like as soon as you cut that out, the inflammatory component, you still got to stretch and do exercise.
Which you should do anyway. But definitely. Once the alcohol goes, the aches and pains disappear. You know, obviously the endorphins are firing. You're bouncing out of bed.
Yeah,
it's a different.
Should we have another one?
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Cheers.
Oh, beautiful. And call me crazy, but I actually love the taste of this stuff.
I guess that's a bit of a speed bump for people, right? Like
everybody knows someone that went to Fiji and tried Kava and said it tasted like dishwater and didn't do anything for them, so they've never gone there again. So
how is it? Like, mate, can you imagine? I'm sure you can remember the taste of your very first beer or your very first scotch.
Bloody horrible.
I remember sneaking. When I was like 12, sneaking like a bit of this like kiwi liqueur.
I can remember that. Yeah.
Right? And I thought this is going to be great, and I drank it, and it was like the worst thing
like
I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
So when people say to me, "Oh, Kava tastes terrible," I'm like, "Mate, but it's equally as bad as
that's it.
everything else."
I think initially when you start drinking when you're young, and we came from that culture where we were, God forbid, I don't think kids do it these days, but 13, 14 was the norm.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, you had the big end of year parties, parties during the year, and all the kids would, stockpile their booze, steal booze off their folks. And it wasn't about the taste. None of it was the taste. Kids were vomiting. They were, spitting it out. But it was about, that
was the culture,
self-confidence,
right?
and the culture. And you could talk to girls. You could get in a fight and probably win it. All that sort of false bravado that alcohol brings.
You were becoming a man, as we thought, right? Like, this is fucking nonsense, as we understand now. But back then, that was the way we looked at it.
Yeah.
Well, mate, thanks for that. Appreciate you catching up, Trav.
Pleasure.
This is actually getting better out here now.
It's typical, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you ready to go for another?
Yeah, we'll go for another surf.
Yeah,
for sure.
See? Easily, you can hit another surf, have a few shells, and
Exactly. Yeah.
easy going. All right, mate. Well, thanks for that. Appreciate
No
your
worries,
insight, bro. And yeah,
Always
have
a
ripper.
pleasure.